Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's dive right into this deep dive, shall we? We're taking a good look at the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund today.
And we've got a fantastic guide to help us, right? A whole report put together just for this.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, what are we just riffing about this out of the blue?
Not at all. This is from SOS Finwell.
SOS Fin. Well, okay. Now, does that ring any bells for you out there listening? They're all about making investing less scary, especially for beginners.
Yeah, those first steps into the investing world, they can be pretty intimidating, can't they?
No kidding. So, SOS Fin, well, they try to break it all down, right?
Yeah.
Make it like user-friendly.
That's the idea. They're all about empowering everyone to make those smart financial decisions, no matter their background.
Hmm.
And that's where this report on the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund comes in. It's like their way of saying, hey, we've got you covered.
Of that. So lay it on us. What's the roadmap for today's deep dive then? What kind of things does this report cover?
All right, so we're going to start with a little background check, right? We'll take a look at Tata Asset Management, the company behind the fund, a bit of their history, their expertise, the usual.
The rundown. Okay, I'm with you.
And we'll take a peek at their AUM, that's assets under management, for those who like the jargon.
AUM. Okay, I've heard that thrown around. But honestly, what does it actually mean? Is it a big deal?
It's worth knowing about, definitely. Basically, it's the total value of everything they're managing. In Tata Asset Management's case, it's a pretty impressive figure, over 1 lakh crore. Now, that doesn't automatically mean they're going to make you rich, right?
Right. Got to be realistic.
But it does tell you a lot of people trust them with their money. It's kind of like seeing a restaurant with a line out the door makes you think they must be doing something right.
For sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to try a place if it's packed.
Mm.
But anyway, this fund, it's a hybrid, right? What's the deal with that?
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. So hybrid funds like this one, they're kind of like the best of both worlds. You've got equities, which are just stocks, and then you've got the fixed income securities, think bonds mainly. So you're aiming for that growth potential with the stocks, but you're also trying to build in some stability with the bonds.
Got it. So it's like a balancing act.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot. Yeah.
Now, performance,
Yeah.
that's the big one, right? What's this report saying about how this fund has actually performed?
Well, now keep in mind, past performance, it's not a guarantee or anything, but it gives us some clues, right? And this report, it shows that the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund, it's been pretty consistent with its growth over the past few years. We're talking around 12, 15% annualized returns over a 3-year period.
Okay, so for someone who's like totally new to this stuff, what does that even mean? How do I wrap my head around that?
All right, so let's say, just as an example, you put in, say, 100 euro 3 years ago. On average, you could have earned an extra 12 to euro if years here. But remember, this can change. Past performance isn't a crystal ball, sadly.
Right, right. It's about the potential, not like a promise or something. Yeah. Okay, so I see this report's got a section on standard deviation, the Sharpe A ratio, alpha. Those always seem a bit intimidating to me. Can we unpack those a bit?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Think of these as like the vital signs of your investments. So standard deviation, that's all about how much your returns are bouncing around. Higher standard deviation, get ready for a bumpier ride. Lower, a bit smoother sailing.
So it's like the volatility, right?
Exactly. Now, this fund, it sits around 10%, which is, moderate volatility. Then you've got the Sharpe ratio. That's the risk-reward balance. A higher Sharpe ratio generally means you're getting more bang for your buck, better return for the risk you're taking. The Tata Hybrid Equity Fund, it's got a respectable Sharpe ratio of about 1.2.
Okay, so higher's better there too. What about alpha then?
Right. Alpha, think of it as beating the system, kinda. A positive alpha means the fund's doing better than its benchmark. And here, they're reporting a 2% alpha, which is pretty good, like scoring bonus points.
Who doesn't love bonus points?
Exactly. So yeah, these figures, they give you a quick snapshot of how the fund's been doing.
Okay, so this is all starting to paint a picture, right? But let's say down the line I'm thinking, maybe this isn't the right fit for me after all. What then?
You're thinking about flexibility, and that's where those exit loads and lock-in periods come in.
Right, right. Those are important to keep in mind.
Now, the good news with the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund is there's no lock-in period. So you're not stuck. You can pull out whenever you need to, no penalty.
Okay, no getting locked in. But what about those exit loads?
So they do have a 1% exit load if you decide to redeem within the first year. It's like a little nudge to encourage a long-term view. But after that first year, you're golden. No exit load.
Got it. So there's that first year, but after that, you're good to go. Okay, flexibility check. But before we move on, got to ask about taxes. That's always a factor, right?
Oh, absolutely. Can't forget about the tax man. And the report here from SOS Fin, well, it lays it all out pretty clearly. Because it's an equity fund, those long-term capital gains, that means profits from units you've held for over a year, they get taxed at 10% for anything over 1 lakh in a financial year.
So holding on to those investments for a while could potentially be good news come tax time.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, this is just a general overview, okay? Always best to talk to a tax advisor, get personalized advice for your situation.
For sure, for sure. Always good to get that expert advice. Okay, so this report, it's been super helpful, honestly, really breaking down the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund. But how does it actually compare, to other investment options out there? What's the big picture?
$1 million question, right? Now, this fund, it could be a solid addition to a diversified portfolio,
Yeah.
especially for someone who's, comfortable with a bit of risk and looking at a long-term investment. It's all about balance, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
So it's like one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. You got to think about your goals. What are you saving for? Retirement, down payment on a house, big trip, and how much risk can you stomach? Once you know that, that's how you figure out where to put your money. And this fund, with its mix of equities and fixed income, it could be a good fit for some folks.
It's all about finding the right fit for you, right? Not just following the crowd.
100%. And that's actually one of the things I really like about SOS Fin. Well, they get that.
Yeah.
They're not about pushing a one-size-fits-all approach. They want to help you figure out what works for you, your goals, your comfort level.
Like having a personal financial advisor, almost.
Exactly. So yeah, if you're out there thinking, okay, this is interesting, but I need a bit more guidance, I'd say reach out to SOS Finwell. They can walk you through it all, make sure you're making the right decisions.
Sounds like a good plan. Now, earlier we were talking about the fund manager, right? But what about the company itself? Tata Asset Management, that's a pretty big name. What's their deal?
Oh yeah, they're a heavyweight in the Indian asset management scene, that's for sure. Being part of the Tata Group, that gives them a lot of credibility right off the bat. And they've been around for a while, established back in '94, I think it was. They've got a pretty diverse range of mutual funds.
Tata, yeah, you definitely recognize the name. So it sounds like they've got the experience, the resources, the whole package.
Oh yeah, they're not messing around. And they're known for their research, they do their homework. And they're not just looking for quick wins, they're playing the long game.
They're in it for the long haul, huh? Just like we were talking about earlier with those long-term investments.
Exactly. They're all about sustainable returns, finding those fundamentally strong companies that have the potential for growth over time.
Okay, so that's reassuring to know there's a strategy behind it all. But let's be real for a sec, past performance, it's not a crystal ball. Yeah. How can we really get a sense of how this fund might perform in the, in the current market?
Great question. And honestly, no one can predict the future right now. But we can look for clues. We can look at the fund's strategy, see if it aligns with what's happening in the market right now. For example, are the sectors they're invested in doing well? Or are they struggling?
Like checking the weather forecast before you go sailing.
Exactly. You want to be prepared. And then there's the bigger picture, the macroeconomic stuff.
Yeah.
Interest rates, inflation, government policies, those can all have a huge impact on the market as a whole.
So you got to connect the dots, right? See how everything fits together, the fund strategy, their holdings, the overall economic climate.
Precisely. It's all connected. And that's where a report like this one from SOS Pinwell can be so valuable. They've done a lot of that groundwork for you, gathered all that information and put it in one place.
Yeah, it's a great starting point, for sure. Gives you that foundation to build on.
That's exactly it. But remember, it is just a starting point. As investors, it's up to us to stay informed, do our own research, ask questions, and, get guidance when we need it. Because knowledge is power, right? Especially when it comes to our money.
No doubt about that. Investing, it always has that element of risk, right? There are no guarantees. But the more we know, the better equipped we are to handle those risks, And hopefully make smart decisions that pay off in the long run.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground here today. Talk about a deep dive, right?
We really have. This Tata Hybrid Equity Fund, it's got a lot going on. But hey, that's why we've got this awesome report from SOS Finwell, right? They've really laid it all out there, haven't they? So someone's listening to this, they're thinking, okay, this is interesting. I might want to check this out. What are the main takeaways about this Tata Hybrid Equity Fund?
All right, so first things first, right? Got to remember, all investments, they come with some level of risk. Past performance, it's not a guarantee, right? And the value of your investments, well, it can go up and it can go down.
It's a bit of a roller coaster sometimes, right? You never know quite what to expect.
Exactly. But with that risk, that's where the potential rewards come in, right? So this Tata Hybrid Equity Fund, with its mix of stocks and bonds, it's aiming for that long-term growth, but also trying to smooth things out a bit along the way.
Yeah, that's that whole hybrid approach we were talking about.
Right. And let's not forget who's managing things behind the scenes, right? Tata Asset Management, they bring a lot of experience to the table, a solid approach, and they've got a good track record, too.
And that Tata name, that's got to count for something, right?
Definitely. But here's the thing. The most important thing is making sure your investments match your own goals. Your risk tolerance, how long you plan to invest. What works for one person might not work for another, right? It's all about finding the right fit.
Like, it's got to be tailored to you, right? Your own personal financial puzzle.
Exactly. And that's something SOS Finwell really understands. They get that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. They want to help you figure out what makes sense for you.
We're like those personal shoppers, but for your finances.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, if anyone out there is thinking, okay, this is all great, but I need a bit of help putting it all together, reach out to SOS Finwell. They can walk you through it all.
Yeah, they've been a fantastic resource for us today. So, to wrap things up here, folks, remember, taking control of your finances, it's a journey. It's not a one-time thing. And having someone like SOS Finwell in your corner, well, that can make all the difference.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And hey, knowledge is power, right? The fact that you're here listening to this, learning about this stuff, that's already a huge step. So keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep building that financial future.
And that, my friends, is a wrap on our deep dive into the Tata Hybrid Equity Fund. Big thanks to SOS Finwell for giving us the roadmap. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.